So Nmap, if you don't learn anything else, you need to know dig, NSLOOKUP, and Nmap, and burp. So you're going to see a lot of questions from those 4 tools on the test. Make sure you know these. So Nmap is the single most largest one. You need to know this for absolute sure. Plus, when you go out to do work, you're going to need to use it as well. So it's imperative that you know it. Network administrators can use Nmap for network inventory, managing, searching, upgrade schedules, and monitoring host service uptime. Attacker can use Nmap to extract information such as live hosts on the network and services that are in use, for example, applications, names and versions, usernames, all kinds of stuff. Types of packet filtering firewalls separate systems and OS versions, so you can get all kinds of information from Nmap. It is incredibly powerful. So we talked about this a minute ago, the HPing2 and HPing3, the command line network scanning and packet crafting tool for the TCP/IP protocol. So these are going to allow you to perform TCP pings where theirs are always enabled, whereas ICMP may not always be as successful as it used to be. It can be used for network security auditing, firewall testing, manual path MTU discovery, advanced trace routes, remote OS fingerprinting, remote uptime guessing, TCP/IP stacks auditing, etc. So you need to play around with these. You need to do a lab with this, and you definitely want to know Nmap from beginning to end, everything it can do. HPing and HPing2. So for example, in Nmap, you'll see questions like, how do you perform, what is the dash capital O flag? What is the dash SS capital S little s flag? That kind of thing. You need to know Nmap. So some HPing commands, ICMP ping. So you want to do a HPing3-I in the IP address. So that's literally going to do an ICMP ping. So this can totally replace your regular old ping tools because it can use it can speak ICMP as well as TCP. So here's some common commands. I recommend that you become very familiar with these. You will likely see test questions on these exact ones. So send flooding a victim, all this kind of stuff. So SYN flooding, what is that? So remember we talked about SYN is a TCP flag. So a SYN flood is just SYN. So you're consuming all of the resources that the server has set up. It might have 20 servers listening right now, and it's listening for sync packets. Hey, I want to talk to you. So the first thing you do is SYN. It'll give me back a SYN-ACK, and then it's expecting an ACK back. So I give you a SYN, you give me a SYN plus an ACK, push the flags that are set. And then I'm supposed to send you an ACK, but you wait a few minutes to receive that ACK. It might be a minute, it might be 30 seconds. So I've just consumed that possible connection for the next X amount of time until the blocking stops, until the program just says, hey, I'm not listening for that anymore, let's start over. So it reclaims that connection. So that's how a DOS can occur. By SYN flood can cause a denial of service attack. Every time you open up a connection, I send you a sync and you're like, okay, here's your SYN ACK, give me an ACK, give me an ACK, give me an ACK, give me an ACK, and you're just stuck there. And they might have 20 of them to start with, and you might have 60 or 100 available, and then it's not very difficult to quickly consume that 100 connections. So scanning techniques. So there's scanning TCP network services, scanning UDP network services. So you have UDP scanning, kind of simple on the bottom end there. And you can see that the TCP scanning is a little more complicated. So we have to open TCP scanning methods. We have stealth TCP scanning methods. We have third-party and spoofed TCP scanning methods. So let's go over the TCP scanning methods, the open ones. So we have the TCP Connect full open scan. So I'm doing a SYN-ACK, and I'm going to get the SYN-ACK back, and I'm going to give you an ACK. And then that's a full connection. Now we've made a full connection. So the difference is between me just sending you a SYN and me sending the SYN, you send me the SYN-ACK, and then I send you the ACK back. That's a full connection. We've shaken hands. Now it's logged. There's a log entry about that now. If I just send you SYNs, I'm hoping that that won't be logged, right? It used to never be logged, but now some people are kind of logging them, although those happen a lot. And there's some different trains of thought there. It depends on how much storage you have and stuff like that on your network. You may save it for 5 minutes. You may save it but not do anything with it, that kind of thing. But if you have a SIM going on that's reading your logs and looking, it's going to say, hey, there's a whole lot of SYN connections coming in here. This is an attack, right? Firewalls will also detect this kind of thing nowadays, and they'll also block it if you're not doing full connections. So one example of a DDoS strategy, an anti-DDoS strategy, is to be able to absorb these high rates of SYNs coming in at, a gig per second, 480 megs per second. I'm getting 1,000, every second I'm getting 480 megabytes worth of SYN connections, or that amount of traffic in SYN communication. So I have to be able to absorb more than that, and then that might be your DDoS infrastructure taking that up, like Akamai or Akamai, for example. And then on the back end, the server just has 20 connections, but these are never getting through because you're not completing the full connection, right? So remember that DDoS strategy protection is to rebuild the entire communication before we send it on. So they're going to make sure that you give me a SYN, I give you a SYN ACK, I'm waiting for that ACK back. If you give me the ACK, okay, now I'll log that, and now I forward you on to the actual server. So then with stealth TCP scanning methods, we have half open scan, inverse TCP flag scanning, ACK flag probe scanning, and then we have a Christmas, fin, and null. So what is a Christmas? So the Christmas scan is when you have the fin, the urge, and the push set for the test, okay? The fin, the urge, and the push. That's what a Christmas scan is. You'll have those flags that are set. And the idea is you light it up like a Christmas tree. And then the fin scan is where you just send a fin, and you see what happens. And then a null scan is where you don't set any flags at all.